Well, good afternoon, everyone. Donny Walker here. Wasn't going to do any more videos this year until I go on my trip, but I got a few saws to finish up here. I'm just doing a 395 right now for Matt Weaver out in Maine, U.S. I just had a conversation with Matt earlier this morning, and I like to talk to people I'm doing saws for just to see the kind of application they're doing. I know all chainsaws cut wood, right? That's a no-brainer. He's going to cut wood with it. What are you doing with your saw? Cutting wood. Well, no kidding, eh? But I just like to ask him what length of bar he's running, what kind of wood he's in, and, most of my builds, the way I build them for work saws, it's going to work for pretty much every application. I just like to talk to people. You know me, I'm the talker walker. I'm just doing this 395. I've ported the cylinder already, done my transfer port bottoms, my exhaust port, cleaned up the tops a tad that had some edges in it. This saw itself, it's in a Brazilian-made 395. That's where they've made them for the last little while, and that's where they'll stop making them probably. But, still got a good Molly cylinder on it, a good Molly piston, the best you can buy, They make the best stuff for sure. I still don't like aftermarket. It's getting better, but I still don't like it. OEM's the way to go. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just putting Matt's saw together here now, and he owns, my golly, he owns a lot of acres. He said he owns close to 300 acres in Maine, and he sent me a little video earlier of him falling a red oak. And he used red oak in Maine for lobster traps. So, if the traps are metal, it hits all the wood on the boat and, messes up the boat, right? So being made out of red oak, it doesn't scratch the boat and stuff, but the wood will decay a bit after probably a couple of years, so you got to redo them, right? But out in Maine, that's the lobster capital of the world, pretty much, eh? That and in Canada, PEI, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, those areas, right? So as I'm talking away here as usual, I just wanted to show you a couple things on the 395. I've already done a bunch of cleanup on the pistons. I go over every corner of it, cleaning it up. I've done a little bit of intake timing on the skirt of the piston. Instead of lowering the basement part of the intake of the intake port, I take just a bit off the skirt and chamfer it. So the degrees I'm changing it. Chamfering a piston, by the way, too, like if you take a piston, let me grab one here. Oh, he's got a piston laying around. You think about it on your piston, if you take material off, and the old rule of thumb is, old time saws is, take a ring width off the intake of the piston for the timing of it on certain models, not all of them. But as you take material off and chamfer it, let's say on a 30-degree angle, that also changes the timing a bit too by a minute amount, maybe a degree or two. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, and it also keeps oil on the piston better. I chamfer all around the piston skirt on all saws and clean up all the edges on it. Okay, just thought I'd show you that. So that's been done with this piston, and when I take my saws apart, I always put the wrist pin, top end bearing, and circlip in a small bag to keep them clean, and you don't lose them in the box and nuts and bolts, especially if you got it apart for a few days and you forget where you put the stuff. So they're always in a bag ready to go. I only take one circlip out and I put it back in. Never have circlip problems on these saws. They're just built properly and fine. For a lot of aftermarket cylinder circlips, some of the aftermarket stuff, you got to watch these little ears on these clips will break. The wrist pin hits it and wears the little corner here off, and it comes out and goes through your motor, then it's toast. So some of those Chinese ones, aftermarket ones, cut this off and put them in, or just cut it shorter, okay? Anyways, let's get back together, putting this saw together. Pistons on, rings are on, cylinders all on. I got the boot on and everything. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna put it back together and talk a little bit about the 395 here. The 395, people always are asking all the time, what's the difference between a 395 and 394? Well, Basically, the 395 has a rubber intake boot. The 394 doesn't. They've changed multiple different carburetors on 395s, but the newest ones, these Walbro WJs, WJs. This is a 115A. Great carburetor, you know. Unfortunately, though, on this newest carburetor, you will need another type of carb adjuster. This inner spline type Pula and Husqvarna one. This looks the same, but it isn't. They use a little bit different one now. Of course, just to make you buy another tool. But this is the one here. It's orange colored. You can order from Husky. It fits the newest 395 one. The newer 372 X-Torques have the same, and the 390. So just watch that and beware of that. Great carburetors, though. Once I set these carburetors up for a customer and run the saw in a little bit, I tank the fuel through it, they never really have to adjust it, unless you're dealing with a different elevation change or anything. But I try to set them so I know where the people's area they're in. In Maine, he's pretty close to the ocean there, so I know he's probably going to be the same as setting it up for a West Coast faller here. Okay, back to it. Got my bolts in the cylinder, and that's another thing with 394s and 395s, 2100s, 288s. Remember, your cylinder bolts are a 3/16 Allen wrench you need for them, because they're a 1/4 inch bolt with SE threads. Not like the rest of their saws are all metric. So it's kind of weird how they've always used that particular thing. A little off topic again. So the difference between 394 and 395s, back to that. Like I say, it was just basically the rubber intake boot, the different carburetors, the rubber mounts here for the carburetor on the back, and that's about it, really. They didn't really change anything else. It's just a good old work saw for big wood, right? So let's get a little bit of assembly oil on this piston and a little bit on the cylinder. The gasket's already glued down to the bottom. I use the gasket on these. You can take them out and run them without a gasket, but I find they're a little too tight, and these got quite a narrow side to the cylinder, so you got to watch gluing them that you get them glued up right. Okay, so I got some oil on there now. Get my ring expander. You can buy these ring, well, I call them ring expander. I call them whatever, ring installers, whatever you want to call it. Ring collapser. It's because you're collapsing the ring. So get your rings so they're onto the dowel pins where the ring won't float around. Get your clamp on there now. Squeeze it, and just simply take the jug, set it on there, and I just use my fingers. You see here, and just pull the piston up into the cylinder as I push the cylinder down a tad. There you go, done, easy. Trying it other ways without using those, you will break rings and have problems. But it's quite simple. If you don't have those, you can take a hose clamp, cut the ends off and bend them, and use a hose clamp for it. Okay. So that's on there now. So let's get this lined up and get the screws started. Line up your intake stuff. Make sure your bolts are going down in the right spot here. Get one started. Get another corner started. Then start getting the other two corner ones done, and then start screwing it down. People ask me all the time what the torque spec of these are on Huskies or Stills. You're roughly around 120 inch-pounds, I would say. They have a Newton meter reading, but I can't remember what that is. I just tighten them up good by hand. Second click of my wrist, and it's good to go. But yeah, I'm heading out on my road trip tomorrow, so I'm just trying to get this saw done, and I'm going to get one more a 572 done after this for another customer. I just did two 661s yesterday for a logging company up here in BC. I forget the name of the company. Let me go check, actually, just over here. Let's see if I can quickly find that. Carbon Wolf Falling. So it's a 250 number. So he's up maybe on the island here, maybe. anyways, your two 661s are done. I'll take them to Walkers, and they'll fire them up and run them, and have them ready for you when you're ready to receive them. Pull the saw over, make sure it's okay. No problem there. Fine, I'll tighten it up. Give them a good one. I do them by hand. Racing engines and stuff, I use torque wrenches, but you don't need it on these. Okay? Good to go. Get your spark plug in the hole so it doesn't get any stuff in there. These new 395s come with Champion spark plugs, obviously a resistor plug, and all your new saws should have resistor plugs. Remember that, and fixed tops to them. Don't have the screw-on ones that come loose. Not so bad on this saw, but on the new electronic ones like Auto 2 and M-Tronic, you got to run those solid tops. If that top comes loose and starts moving around, it disrupts the spark and your carburetor flow as well. That affects the whole system. There you go. Matt, your 395's coming together. That was a nice talk I had with you this morning. I'm jealous. I wish I had 300 acres of woods that I could go out and play around and drive your old Timberjack skidder he's got. He's got a Timberjack old skidder. I forget the model, but he sent me a picture of it just earlier, and it looks exactly the same one as the one I started running when I was young. I was about 14, 15 years old. I was hanging out with a friend, my first kind of logging job, and he's like, "Get on the skidder, Donnie. You can drive it. You race go-karts and stuff. You should be able to drive this thing." So I hopped onto that skidder, man, and I rode it around this bush area, and I almost flopped it over in this creek. But wow, was that ever fun, man! I'd run out, set the choker around the next log, and yank the next one off. Yeah, it was a blast, man. So, anyways, these do not have a ignition rev limiter either. They have the black coil like all these 394s and 395s have had. Same one on each mod, the same ignition they've used forever. Sometimes they fail. You get the odd one that'll fail if it's hard starting, or sometimes it won't start, or next time it does, it's the coil. They had some bad ones on these, so just beware of that. I run these about 12.8 to 13,000 RPM. I'll set the high speed at, and like I said to Matt earlier, like there's the big debate on the internet of oil ratio and different oils and different gas. Well, in reality, man, as long as you have a decent quality chainsaw mixing oil, there's so many brands out there. Just run a good quality oil, good gas, at least 89 and above octane, hopefully non-ethanol. If it's got a little ethanol in it, no big deal, it'll work still. They've designed these saws to run on everything. And the biggest thing with that is, maybe you don't have the best oil as your neighbor or the best gas, but if you have a sharp chain and that carburetor is adjusted properly, you won't have any issues. Remember that. Sharp chains is the biggest killer, or dull chains are the biggest killer of chainsaws and bad old gas. You can have proper ratio, proper oil, proper gas, but if it's been sitting around for more than 3 months, get rid of it and get new stuff. It goes bad pretty quick these days. So in a nutshell, there you go, Matt. That's a little bit of talk about 395s. That's all I got time for today. I got to get on getting the next saw done after this one, so I can pack my bags and hit on my USA West Coast highway adventure, going through Washington State, Oregon, down into California, and I might hit up and visit my friend Dennis Russo that you guys have probably seen on the Husqvarna builder's site and Husqvarna site talking on the internet. So, and another friend of mine, Paul, down in California, close to LA. Hopefully I'll have time to go visit them. They watch my channel and help them out with stuff, so why not go have a visit while I'm down that way. So, you all have a good day. Keep your saw on the wood, stick a knife, rubbing the road. Enjoy the rest of your holidays and New Year's. And I'm going to do a little road trip adventure videos, so you'll see some of them coming up in the next few days when I get on the road, catching the ferry over to Port Angeles, Washington, and then starting driving down the old 101, and maybe hit the I-5 on the way back a bit if we're in a bit more of a hurry. But no, we'll probably bring the 101 back. I like the scenery. I love the ocean. You know, I live right by the ocean here, so I see it every day. So it's not that big deal to me, but I just love seeing different areas and meeting different people as well. So, anyways, y'all have a good day now. See you later. Bye now.